So first I'm starting with the bigger one again. So now I want to show you the ceramic layering. So here's the frame, the luster looks pretty good, but you can still improve this one with some polishing. Or not correct in the mouth. Okay, so here's the framework on the left side and with the sprinkle layer. So the wax on this central is ready, so I do the ceramic buildup. So the first two layers are similar to the wax. So here in this area I use the Power Dentin Bleach 4 and I'm added white stain to increase the opacity. So Power Dentin is much more opaque and even if it's not more opaque, but it's more higher in value and brighter than the old traditional dentin in the kit. I still find sometimes I have to add stains to increase the opacity and the value. So that's why I use the white stain into the Power Dentin in this area. So remember, this is a high value area. And then I use the normal bleach for dentin for this incisal part to create the mamelons. So the next step is, it's many build-ups here, so I don't have time to show every details here, but with the blue I built up the similar bluish translucency, this warmer color, what you see, this orangey, these are the mamelons. The violet here is similar what I used for the wax, so this absorption area. So normally I'm using SIG, so the special incisor gray in the Emax kit. I like to use that one. It's a nice material, but you have to be careful, so don't use too thick because it can be too strong. I also use some whitish enamel mixture. In this case I use Opal Effect 3 and Dentin Bleach 1 mixed half and half, so just to increase some brightness in the line angles and in some areas of the teeth or of the restoration. So removed from the model, I'm adding some Power Dentin for the proximal and for the halo effect. So that's what you see here, this green layer. So this is my firing program for the dentin, and I'm using the same firing program for the first fire and the second fire. And you find my firing programs. I uploaded these photographs to my website, so you can visit there and you can download from there. So this is the first fire, and this is the stage when I'm sending my cases for drying, so we can test if my layering is correct or not, and I can easily change my layering if something has to be changed. Okay, so it's a little bit longer because you have to compensate for the shrinkage, so ceramic is always shrinking. So the final layer, usually I'm using power incisor enamels. I like those enamels. And so you can see here I used a Power Dentin for the halo. Okay, so remove the dies, fired. So this is the firing, and you can see nicely coming through the internal effects inside the ceramic work. So this is the second fire. I use the same firing program for the second fire. So now I like to show you how to create the textures in the wax and in the ceramic. So these are the tools I like to use for my wax texture and the wax ups. So usually I'm using these tools, so this rounded wax tool or carving tool, and this more pointy. So this is the Ramford Ergo wax knives number 2 and number 3. So on the left side you see a video, it's a speed up video, so I'm not that fast when I do a carving, but you can see I'm using this bigger size wax knife to finalize the shape, the buckle shape of the wax up, and then I'm using a smaller size and create first the vertical restoration, vertical texture. So I'm always starting with the vertical texture, and then I go for the horizontal. So these are the horizontal texture, basically imitating the perichiamatas, and also soften all the details and all the sharp edges in the vertical texture and vertical grooves. This is after you know, the vertical and horizontal carving, so you can see it's already starts looking pretty close to what we want to achieve. So again, I'm using the number 2 carving tool for creating the vertical texture, and using the number 3 for smooth the vertical texture and also create the horizontal details. So here are the results, and so when you polish up the wax with you can use a wet tissue paper, or you can use a nylon stocking. So with that one you can nicely polish up and create some nicely imitating like a ceramic texture. So yeah, it's really up to you. You know, this shine is really quickly disappears when you touch the wax, but you can experience with that one. And it's a really good way to learn how to create natural appearance and natural texture, because when you're polishing your ceramic restoration, you basically do the same kind of polishing. Okay, so for ceramic, I like to use diamond burrs, and these are I mostly use. And I like to start with these bowl-shaped diamonds, and you can see that the shapes are quite similar to the ceramic or the wax carving tools. So I like to use similar size for both, because then it's basically the same kind of movements I do for creating the texture. So first I'm starting with a bigger one, again similar to the wax, just smooth out the whole surface, and then continue with a smaller sizes, and first creating the vertical texture on a buccal surface, and then the next one is with the horizontal with a smaller size, and so you can nicely smooth out the sharp edges of the vertical textures. So here's after texturing, and I applied a really thin layer of stain liquid. So with that one you can see better the reflections, and you can judge your texture better. But I highly recommend to use a really thin layer of stain liquid, because if you put too much liquid on the surface, that's basically fill up all the details on the surface, so it's much harder to see nicely. So just a really thin layer, and you can add you can do some extra modification, or you can start to polish. So I always like to polish up the surface before the stain and glaze firing, so it's not removing too much details, but especially when there are the line angles and the higher points on the surface, I like to smooth out with some rubbers, because then the firing result is much closer to what I want. So first I use this soft rubber. This is from Ranford again, and it's nice because it's not too abrasive, so it's not removing too much details. And for the cervical area, I like to use this from Iota, and with this one you want to make sure that your transition from the framework to the layering is really nice and smooth, because otherwise you have these steps, and that's not really good for the tissue. So you have to be sure that the margin is nice and smooth for the gingiva. So after the polishing, I'm still sometimes using a fine diamond to create some extra details, fine details, and usually using a microscope for this one. And under the microscope, like 10 times magnification, you can see really nicely the fine details you create. And then I do the glaze. I use a glaze powder and mix it with a stain liquid. So it depends on the case and depends on the shine and the luster you want to achieve with the restoration. Sometimes I'm not using any kind of glaze, but sometimes I apply. Obviously, if you're using a glaze powder and a glaze paste, the end result is much shiny and much smoother on the surface. So what you see on the right side is those areas where it's not perfectly smooth. I'm applying some Ivocolor glaze, again, to have a nice surface for the tissue, because the tissue prefer a nice and clean and a highly polished cervical and ceramic. You can also use the Ivocolor cream to correct contact points. So if you don't have you know, a tight enough contact area, you can use the glaze or the cream to create those additions. And also what I realized that my distal corner was a little bit short, so that's why I added some power dentin and add-on mixture at the stain firing, and with that one I can increase the length there. So this is after the glaze fire, so you can see the shine, the luster looks pretty good, but you can still improve this one with some polishing, because when you see the surface of the ceramic under magnification, like under a microscope, you can see it's not perfectly smooth, so you have some small porosities on the surface. You can polish out with this Jota rubber, and then you have a much more natural looking restoration. Okay, and so the final stage to compare wax and ceramic. So here's a video about, you know, on the our left side you can see the wax, and on the right side you can see the ceramic. Obviously the shine and the luster of the ceramic is always higher, because it's really hard to polish up the wax, because the wax is really soft compared to the ceramic. But I think if you're using this wax kit or just one color dentin wax, you can learn a lot about morphology and texture, and you can easily use this one to train someone. So if you have an apprentice in your lab, or if you want to learn about layering, I think wax is an excellent tool. It's much quicker than ceramic, and also much cheaper. So again, so you can see ceramic has higher translucency. You can create these fine cracks. So my wax compared to the ceramic looks quite simple. So, but obviously there you have you know, different materials, so they have different translucencies as well. So again, side by side, the wax and the ceramic. So I really like to use wax to learn and test different layerings. And I highly recommend to use photography, so not just for shade communication and patient communication, but also camera is your best teacher. So I started to take photographs 15-20 years ago, and you know, when you see your images on the screen, the magnification is almost like 10 times magnification, so you see all the problems. So there is two ways: you stop taking photographs, or you fix your restorations and you improve yourself. So I highly recommend everyone to invest to a camera and learn about nature and learn about your work, because with photographs you can see all the problems as well. But when you have a nice result, you can be really proud, and you know, you can print and you can put on your wall. So thank you again for watching, and thank you for your attention, and I really appreciate that Ranford asked me to give this lecture. So if you have any questions, you can find on these links, so on my website or Instagram and Facebook, and I'm always really happy to help and answer the question, and hopefully this presentation was useful for you. Thank you so much.